Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength fields, in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, called the sun, that irradiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in such certain ways, as we call leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to his creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system, within the galaxy, shall become the center of the universe. This happens on earth, we call it the rain. Come from, goes back to. In the solar system, we call it planetary system. We come from the rays, we become the planet and go back to the mother. Same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter on what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man as the energy of the earth gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, to be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question for man shall be in the future to be answered. As we saw the sun became the earth, and as we saw the earth became the man's soul, what will be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality. Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself, cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy becomes the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man. So shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider, what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 million children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and ever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system, which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet, and the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts at the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of the man, so shall be the fields from the soul of the man which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have to be created by his soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give fairy tale. This is the truth. But as you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity, now knowing the fact, will handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have less, they have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar systems of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that you can run when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth, and the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is an operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation, of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from his soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation. Any questions?
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host today. This is a special workshop that includes the Energy Blueprint Part 2, and we'll be broadcasting live from Linz, Austria. And I believe we have Mr. Keshe ready to go to present today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Not seeing your microphone activated, Mr. Keshe. Might have to restart your Zoom on one of your channels to reactivate the microphone, perhaps. Okay, well, bear with us a minute here while we get connected.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Yes. Good morning, good day to you, as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute. We are here today as part of the normal Thursday teaching, but in the process, we will show you as part of the blueprint, the first plasma power generator, which means an independent generation of the electricity in a small way, and then addition to it. During the process, you hear a lot of beeping. And this is, in a way, what we're looking for. That beeping is when the what we call inverter comes in to fill up the what we call the batteries, and then it stops. And this shows that the system is rechargeable. Then it becomes permanent. This machine has been running for 2 or 3 days. And in the process of past days, it has continuously generated to keep at 0.3 kilowatts of energy. The same would be showed in Tehran. And we go through that on its own. We might add a third, what we call blueprint day, to show further application of the gas production. This will be sometime next week, we announce it, where we can show the application of the production of methane gas as a gas and a CO2 as a gas. The plasmatic gas of CO2 has a different properties. In a way, many of you have been asking about the fires in the woods and fire application of plasma technology in the fire business. Then we just create that condition as a gas that we don't need to waste or what we call use water and everything else which we are used to. In this process, we extend the knowledge in a third, hopefully, what we call blueprint, because this is to do with energy. In Tehran, we showed the production of the gas hydrogen. We show here the production of the gas in methane and CO2, which methane itself, it condenses as a plasma, has a different application and implication. The teaching of the process is being all the time with us. We have always taught it, but we could not explain it to many of you. We give a small glimpse of the process. If we can go and show you the whole system in a few minutes, and we go on an extension of understanding the first plasma technology generator, which means this can be extended to 1 to 2 kilowatts freestanding. When we call it a freestanding generator, it means does not need anything else to supply it. It works by itself. It's a plasma that lasts for years, and no one has managed to deliver this independent. We depend on the solar system. We depend on also chemical reactions. For the first time, what we promised now has been built, and you can see the generator. And the beauty of this is like in Tehran. If you remember, you could hear the bleep, and when the bleep came, there was the end of the process. We have the same inverter process here. This is the characteristic of the inverter, not our system. But I'm sure in the coming weeks and months, this inverter process with the bleeping and cutting off will go out of the system. But it's good to hear that bleeping. In Tehran, we saw when it bleeped, it stopped, we cannot generate. This system shows it bleeps, it stops because of the inverter, and then it comes back on again, which means inverter confirms production of the AC from a DC source, from the plasma source, and this changes the game of energy production. You can put this anywhere in the world. You are not temperature, environment, sunshine, or what we call natural gases. You hear it, it's gone off now in the background. It bleeps, and it comes back on. Can we go on that camera, please, to show the system? I just show you the system, and then Klaus from the Keshe Foundation Manufacturing will explain to you in a very simple way how the technology has been developed and how it works and how it is there. This is the system. You can hear it. You can see the light, one light on. Then we see the second light coming on, bleeping. The inverter has produced, and we can see the fridge lit. This is the beauty with this technology. We take the bleeper out, what we call a transformer, from a DC plasma to AC current. You have a permanent supply of energy, and this has never been done in the world of science. There is no moving part. There is no dimensions in changing or adding, and the process can run for years. It can be multiplied to different currents and voltages. I'll leave it to Klaus to explain, to show, and then we carry on with the breakthrough in what we call the world of science. Klaus, would you like to come in?
Yes.
I don't know which camera will pick up. The best position will be here with me. Yep. Okay. I stand back.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to explain how this device works roughly. We finished it like this short time ago. It is a system like it is here in a very big box. It is because we still have all our instruments inside and all the devices we needed to set it up. So this is definitely not the end size of the device. It can be much smaller. But we just left it, we boxed it, that we can move on, like as Mr. Keshe said, with this improvement concerning the beeping, where we have already the solution, but we literally didn't have the time to build it in the very short time. How it stands here is delivering 300 watt continuously in a balance with the devices which are plugged in, which means if I have a control on my mobile phone, an app, and it shows the constant going down, going up of the delivery of the voltage for the fridge in this case, and for the lights. The main content is, of course, the technology and the knowledge which came from Mr. Keshe, that we developed the possibility to kick into universal energies. And this kicking in is one of the most, I would say, emotional moments I had in the foundation, because you literally feel when you can explain it like open the window and leave this fresh air in, this energy in, and this energy is kicking into the cables, the coils, and this is a process like it was explained here when there was this blinking of the lights. There is a window open and fresh air and fresh energy comes in, and then it builds up again. At the control device, you can see this continuously going up and down of the voltage, of the power of the energy, which is coming in a plasma state and is being converted in the generator to electrical energy that we can use it here with more or less any device. What is interesting, when we just tasted, we just came from our no. You can't hear me anymore? Yeah, it's good. Okay. This is the process of kicking in. Interestingly, when we brought the device here just half an hour ago, it needed about 7, 8, 9 times, let's say, to pump in the energy. Now it was already 3, 4 times, which means it's building up again. Energy is building up again. The window is more and more open. So this is another beautiful thing that I can watch now, that we changed the location of the generator and it needed some time to build up again, which it does, or she, or it now. Yeah. The fridge, yeah. The fridge is on now. It's cool. The light is on, yeah. Can the light be seen? Okay. Of course, there are nowhere cables. This is, how can we show it with the fixed camera is not easy, but the yeah, it's on wheels, yeah. So we, yeah. That's it. Right. Here's just a connection from the fridge with the extended cable.
So we can see totally independent unit. As Klaus said, this will be miniaturized. There's a lot of things in the background with it. And we build it up to 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatt. We can build it up to in a position of point of need and on demand. It's taken 40 years of research to be able to deliver this. And we have put it up for production, and we can continuously evolve and expand. The beauty with this point and what we saw in Tehran is very interesting. When we add this system with a methane gas, production of methane gas, adding what we need in the process of the burning to the methane, we can create, as all of you are chemists, know more than me, I know nothing about chemistry, is when you burn a methane gas, you get a CO2 and water, which means through the same process, we can, in a physical condition, create huge amount of water. But using that water, which we added to the system, which come in very soon, we'll show you, is in the process of getting done. We can add food. We can add medicine through magnetic field, which means putting a combination of the gas system, the plasma electric power, and the conversion through for continuous production of the conversion, we can create a sustainable life anywhere on this planet. We produce as much water as we need. We can produce and add to water the way you do with the cups. There we are. We saw in Tehran, the switch comes off its end. If you look, the fridge is dead. Now it takes time. Energy builds up by the plasma, supported. We can control the time of this conversion and we can stabilize it to a full system. There you can see it. And the process will go on. That continuous generation is there. This blipping has nothing to do with the plasma production. This blipping is to do with our inverter, which is made, I think, in Korea. And it will bring that change in. And it's the beauty of this process, which means inverter is flat, the battery are flat, but the system has a charging capability to support. And as we see, the fridge is back on again. This is for the first time that the process has become stable, knowledge understood, and has delivered to what we said. And you can have the condition, as we saw in Tehran, with a plasma unit, or you can have a freestanding generator. It lasts most probably as long as your grandchild does, if the pieces stands, and how it will be shown. Klaus has got to tell you something.
There is one thing. Next time when it starts blinking, if you are watching this LED light, this shows that the voltage is always there before the inverter. So it's not that it just cracks down and nothing is here. It is just the
So as long as that blue light stays on, it shows the battery is charged.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So now we see for the first time a plasma generator, and it can be scaled up to megawatts. It can be scaled up to what we saw initially in China in the flight system which we developed in South China Sea, where what we saw, if you remember, the balls were all red in color with the gases. And after the surge of some, we estimate 5 megawatts, when we looked at the balls, they were empty, just water. With this process is what we call continuous. But what we've done, if you go on the Keshe Foundation website, we have broken it into 0 to 3 kilowatt, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt. But it's something new with the Keshe Foundation. These units are going for sale. And up to now, you bought something from the Keshe Foundation that was yours. With this comes a contractual fee, annual fee, which allows us to build up for the Keshe Foundation a lasting income, not just one sold. It works out very cheap. It works out about €1 per week, more or less, depending on the consumption. And if you go any further, it builds up to more. So in a way, instead of paying hundreds of dollars per month, now you reduce it just $1 a month. We show the same thing with the gases. When we release the technology on the 3rd of the blueprint, we will show you. You can use that system to burn for the house. You can use that system for filling up the gas tank, running the car on it. The extension of this technology added to a car, electric cars, which we'll show in the coming weeks, means you do not need to charge your electric car anymore. The process started, most of you, around 2014, 15, we showed you, now is a commercial product, which means the technology is proven. It's not theory anymore. It's not a knowledge anymore. It's a technology delivered, continuous deliverance. And you got to realize most of us, we don't use more than 300 watts to 600 watts during the day, unless we do cooking, unless we heat up or cool down during the summertime. And as you see, the light is still on, which means the battery is at 26.2, 6.3 volts. Is the inverter that detects the droppage, calls on the plasma to fill it up, to charge it up, and then charges it up, and it kicks into the next system. The system built up for the commercial side takes this part of the inverter out of the proposition. Yes.
I could show if you want.
Yes.
The controller.
Yeah.
Because 26.6, can you see this? Is this visible? Yeah. 26.6 is our balanced situation. The plasma kicked in. Now you see 26.57 and it loads up again. 26.58 takes some minutes to charge. Now it's at 26.8. Jumps already to 0.9. So it means it's charging now. So 26.6. This is the balance. Sometimes it goes to 26.61 and 2, but 26.6 is the balance of this system with 300 watt continuously supplying. Next time if it kicks in, I can show the same again. This goes on and on and on. And it does not go lower than 26.6 in the balanced situation.
The fridge is open. We can run this during the whole process. We can leave this one for months and months to come. You can work on an AC, or if you run it in the car, you don't need the AC conversion. You can work on a DC. And this is what we call a change in the game, where we use the edge of science and technology and knowledge. And I'm sure in the next few months, the size of this unit will be maybe smaller than the refrigerator in front of you. And it goes back, brings back memories that if you go to Manchester University, where the first computer, which was just adding plus, minus, dividing and subtract, what you call it, division, is a 2-story house. That was the first computer man ever created. You go to Manchester, you see it. And now we have come from a 2-story building to this block, and now you can see what the calculator does in your pocket. That will be the evolution in the science. As we build it, this will become a what we call historical unit. The first time, plasma generation. And the beauty of it is, goes back again to the roots of the knowledge. If we add the knowledge of the nuclear plasma into this box will produce megawatts. We are using the plasma in a room condition. We have not brought the knowledge of a nuclear plasma for a space into this game. This, if we bring nuclear plasma technology into this, which no instrument today has the capability to detect it, I'll produce megawatts out of this box. This is a pure, natural plasma process, and it gives you what you need. We needed to do this, we needed to show this, because this now brings a lot of things into focus. Upstairs above us is the Iranian flight system, which actually flew exactly 12, 14 years ago in Tehran. We brought the knowledge. Do you want to show the...
I can show it again.
Yeah, show the voltage, please.
Because then we see that we drop always nearly the same time, and we come back to 26.6 after a certain time as well. I think this is the best proof that we are not losing any energy.
Now it starts building up.
So 26.55 is our starting, and it should go back to 26.00. It's charging again. 26.8.
58.
Sorry, 26.58. Yeah. 59. It's even charging quick already. It's building up.
Just as it builds up.
Yeah.
The fridge is still there.
Yeah. 26.59. And now we are back to 26.60, the balanced situation.
As I was explaining, that if we add nuclear plasma technology, which again has been developed some years ago, nobody can detect it. And if you add it to this system, you can do everything with it and create a new condition for megawatts of energy. This is a very, what did the Americans say, small, was it, step for mankind, a trip for mankind, or what you guys said. This is a very big box, but will have such a punch in the world of energy that will change the history of the man. Implication of this box and what we showed in Tehran, production of hydrogen, and what you will see in the third Keshe Foundation, what we call live energy system, finishes the oil industry, finishes the power generation industry. If you give me $30 billion or euros to build one nuclear reactor, which costs today, and then all the problems with it, all the Fukushima problem, all the 3 Mile Island with it, I can give you enough system that can literally supply a nation. It's rather important for all of us to understand the implication of what was shown last Monday and today. We saw the extension of use of energy. where the fridge, and again 3,500 watts, was extended by 3-4 times. Adding that system to this system, understanding the work of the two, we need very few systems like this to supply a village, supply a town. And if you noticed the showing of the production of the gas last week, if Rick can pick it up somewhere, the back end of it, when they showed the first time the burning of the gas, there was nothing. As the gas built up, we saw when you can see the fridge is dead, is blinking itself. When we saw the demand went onto the gas production, the bubbles increased rapidly, which means production of the gases on demand. Putting that technology, including this technology together, we'll understand. You can go to a fuel station, tank a gas. Yep, we can see it on the screen. It's important you see it. And when we see the fire goes on, but look at the bubbles in the tank in the background. That's the key. If you see it, the bubbles increases very rapidly, which means we can convert energy to gas on demand. You see the bubbles as it goes on increases. And so with this process, we can extract the gases in the environment, hold on to, and when we need it, convert it. When we need it, we convert it to a gas. We need it, we convert it to what we need. And this literally changes the energy game. If you like to go back on the camera again in the studio, what it means, you put that gas unit in a fuel station, you don't need to tank it anymore. You produce the gases as the car pulls up, wants to tank. We have put a price, especially for this structure, around about 30 cents. Because the 30 cents, it might cost 1 or 2 cents to make, but allows the research, the development, the income for the foundation into the space technology and the rest of it. This allows a process that you can go, still have an electric car or electric system. When you go to charge, the system does not need to be connected to a power station, burning fuel, causing all that CO2 problem. We talk about global warming, but the system just charges for the next car, for the next application. We will market this from December, January of this year. We have fixed it, we set up the structure for it into mass production, and we will see the change. We are not going to build cities to clean up the CO2. We are going to change the condition that by mass production of these units, we don't use any more fuel, and that itself, it gives the earth to heal itself from the cancer of the CO2, from cancer of the damages we've done with burning so much fossil fuel. You got to realize we politically did this. That we showed the technology in its stage in Iran, And in the second stage here, that technology is held by no nation. We have a freedom. It shows the knowledge is being shared by two independent groups of the Keshe Foundation, and we can just move this one on to other positions. But this cannot be a scaffold. They cannot kill a scientist to do. Too many people know how to do it. And the expansion and rapid application will bring us that change. In a way, those of you who were crying the global warming and the heating, we have to allow the earth to heal itself now that we have found the solution. We have brought the first step of change. When you have a diseased plant, when you have a diseased body, you allow it, you find a solution for it, and you allow it to heal itself. You allow it, you don't uproot it. With the technology we showed last week and this week, we stopped the drilling, the cracking, as we heard even today. President Biden has done a presidential executive order yesterday to sort out this situation with CO2 and the energy crisis, with drilling more holes and drilling more cracking. Your Excellency President Biden, your answer is here and does not sit in the mine of Texas and in the cracking of the oils and creating more mayhem. Give that fund to the Keshe Foundation across US and beyond, and you'll have the most cleanest energy supply. Unless you're lining the pocket of those who actually voted you into the what we call the White House. I'm being very straight. I did the same thing with Obama. When we gave the technology key on the 15th of November in 2012 to the American ambassador in Brussels, when we asked for the peace in exchange for what we had at that time with Iran, this knowledge is in that key. It's nothing new. It's just American scientists, with all the cleverness, do not have the intelligence of the Iranian nuclear physicists to know how to decode the information on the key. The key was given to the American ambassador, went to Washington. The key went to 75% of the world population governments. And nothing has changed on that key. The knowledge is the same. When the Singaporean government gave the key to one of the scientists and he contacted me and says, I have the key, but I can't decipher what you've done. Can you tell me? I said, how did you get it? He said, the government has given it to me. I said, are you part of it? He says, no, I'm an independent scientist. I said, if you know it, the world has to know it. And we opened the key. So the knowledge has been in the hand of the elite scientists of the governments. Now, it can be shown in public. We gave it to the governments, we gave it to you knowledge seekers, you couldn't do anything with it, so we had to show you how it's done. We saw two parts of it on Monday, and I think this on its own is a powerful statement. As I said, we market this very rapidly. We tried to market the gas before October, November, to meet the demand of the German nation, as we've seen, as we said, the collapse of the German economy due to the boycott by what we call the Russian gas pipeline. And then we built it to the next one. What is important with this is you look at it as a light. You look at it as the structure in front of you. I'm not interested in this because this unit, this technology backs into that technology. These are the space reactors, what we needed to be able to produce materials and to create what we call the enhancement units work. So What you see here, you're happy to get. I needed this to make an independent power supply into the flight system, which many of you are coming to test in the past 4 or 5 weeks. Every time, Tuesday, Wednesday, we get about 10 of you. And very interesting situations coming up with it. I'll explain later. So the reason we are interested in this is not what you're interested, you look at the AC lights or DC lights. It's the plasma energy fields which allows us to run the new plasma enhancement flight units. This is power supply for it. This unit would be fitted into what if you came to Austria to see it. And it has given many of you many chances to see a lot of other things. We adopted it, if you remember when we started with the 3, 4, 5 people at the beginning. I keep on opening this to see is actually there is no power. As I keep on saying, this is an inverter problem, which we had to show it for us this way, that you don't think there is something behind. It's a consumption. Yes, go ahead to show.
Okay, now that we have it running about an hour, it's the same situation. You know, 26.6 is the balanced voltage of the system. We are 26.42. Plasma is kicking in, is charging the battery. 0.56, 57, 58, 59,
when you see this, you understand. We just need to multiply the system strength to give you 3 watts, 3 kilowatts, 2 kilowatts, and the rest of it. But we have gone for maximum 2 kilowatt use, which is put on offer, and it'll be delivered as it is, the way it is. And as I said, you're interested in the electric side of it. Our flight system runs on the plasma side of it, and in that process allows us to create the condition of the flight. As I said, if they can turn the cameras, the flight room, what we call simulation room, is just on my right. Yes, you can turn it. You can see the, if you've been to Keshe Foundation, you have seen it just sits behind that wall. Behind that door is the most advanced space flight system known to man. You can fly with the soul of the man, or you can fly with the physicality of the man. In the coming weeks, we'll show you. This is where the knowledge of what we call Keshe Foundation sits and demonstrated. We produce it in the factories, in the laboratories, bring it here to show its power. And what is interesting for us, as we said, we had a very interesting people here on Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's the second time we had, if you go back into the recording of testimonials, we had a guy who said he felt Christ, presence of Christ. He wanted to do that. But what we have now, we are, as I told you, we are literally setting up the information. We're gathering data. On Tuesday, we have a lady here, non-European, and we did not know anything. We don't ask anybody any question when they come in. When they go in and they come out, then they explain to us what they've been, what was their wishes. In her writing before it goes to the system was to see the Christ, bless his name. And this we were not aware of. When she came out, she gives us a detailed physical features of Christ. The color of the hair, the eye, the clothing, the sound, the voice. And what was exchanged. What we have up to now, I'm sure we'll see, because many people who come here, their wish is to see Christ. And it fits into the description we have given before how he will look. I'm sure in the process we'll bring all that in. This doesn't come that the lady has seen the Christ. Her ancestors, the way we carry the mutation of DNA, carries the RNA information down the line. That's where we see it. And we've seen evolution in that process. We cannot do this with the electric current. We can only do it with a plasma current. With the plasma, the way the energy of the body of the man as a plasma does. None of us has an inverter like this. None of us has a charger. None of us has all sorts of things. Our body works on the process of recharging, getting new energy like this does, by eating food, by absorbing energy from outside. But now, the matter state has to run on a matter condition. And you see the process, we know is nothing wrong, is saying better, because the blue eye here, the blue light tells us I'm in full charge, I'm running. And this is what we call actually a blueprint day. We have printed that blue light on the history of the knowledge of the man. It brings its beauty, it brings into what we brought and what we can show. And this is part of the what we call the change for humanity. The units, as I said, will be smaller, compact, but is showing the strength of the knowledge. You can literally go on the Keshe Foundation website and order it. I hope they have opened the, what we call the store, delivery in December, January of next year. And what is interesting with it is we try to cover the gas production prior winter time, that nations can support it. The gas production units, what we saw in Tehran and the rest, will be delivered to governments for them to see and to bring the change in, to kick in, and we'll see the change in the fortune of the European nations with the boycott and the cut of the gas from Russia. As we heard in past couple of days, the Russians are indefinitely closing the pipeline to the northern line of the gas pipes to Germany. For whatever reasons they say is force majeure, they could not see such a thing. Now they shut down. There's a bigger problem. The bigger problem, we know what it is. But what is interesting, as I said, the worst thing is for all this new technology is that they say usually what changes comes from within. I come from an Iranian nation, which during the Shah in 1970s, up to very recent past, 90%, 95% of his national growth income came through oil and gas. Today, man from Iran, the oil reserves and gas reserves, which the nations of the world depend on, now have to destroy everything from the base because now you don't need it. What's going to happen to the nations like Iran? What's going to be the eventuality with nations like Saudi Arabia? They're sponsoring big, huge terrorist organizations. What we're seeing, the amalgamation of knowledge and the wealth of the West has brought so much pain to Middle East. What's going to happen to this? What's going to happen to implication of now the gas and this on the nations who are totally dependent on these natural resources? It's a change of game of the totality. It's a change because now in next 5 or 10 years, it's not going to happen overnight. We will not touch oil as we've done today. We will not refine oil as we've done today because we don't need oil to run our engines. The cars we have today running on oil, we put a gas converter on, we put what you've seen, and then we step it up to the next level. What will be interesting is not that we are not ready. We can show and demonstrate the production of methane gas today. But through to what we have and what's going on, we'll show this in the third presentation of the Keshe Foundation on what we call the energy resources. What will be interesting is for knowledge seekers to understand what we have and what will come is not very far from here. No. We're going to show you something very interesting. And I'll tell you the reason why it's going to be done in a different way is this. On the third plasma generation energy, you will see, I will demonstrate the production of methane gas in a commercial level. And with it, in the next presentation, we show you us deliberately creating CO2 gas. Has application for us, and it will build up the system to what we want to show. The methane production in the second or third energy development, which we announced it, will be shown simultaneously between Tehran and Austria together. Has to be done that way to bring the change, to bring the condition. This system is getting literally finished. We don't have the production of the what we call mass production for coming time to be delivered. And we will show the system which will work in a condition of fuel stations and home use. And Tehran and Austria, we show Tehran first with hydrogen and electric. We will show Tehran and Austria together with the production of CO2 and what we call methane gas. And that will bring us to a new condition, independence from the resources of this planet. In a way, we become independent from the resources of this planet, but become dependent on the resources of the universe. This is what this technology is, universal systems. And how the system will run, will operate, and how the system will build up to become an inclusive system. It will become an inclusive system where we have shown the energy, we have shown the gas. We need to bring into play the production of the water. We need to bring into display the production of food as a universal unit. The understanding of this technology is what we call important for all of us. And as knowledge seekers, you've been at this for years. Now, As always we said, the proof of pudding is in eating it. We've shown it, the extension, rapid extension or generation, added to the extension, then you can see it can do marvels. It can change the whole history of the power generation. We needed the steps of 150, 200 years with the oil production and with other things. But now it's time to move in the revolution of what we call second industrial revolution in the history of the man, to move from matter to plasma and bring this into what we call completion. There is a note in the background, what happens to the people who order the plasma units. Those plasma units will be replaced with a 0.3 kilowatt generator, as we promised. Those who ordered till yesterday. As of yesterday, that offer of replacement has changed, which means you can have the plasma system or you can have the generator. You can't just go and buy it. There's a price difference of 5,000 and 10,000. You can convert and you can add to, and will bring into play totally a new game in energy, totally a new different way of energy production. As you can see, the fridge is still running. Now is to, in the coming weeks, to transfer this into the flight simulation. And as we said, as we talk now, they're changing the systems in the flight system because we finished till next week. We learned a lot the past 2 days. The systems have been adjusted. The system has been adapted for the new, what we call flight system. And by next week, we go for transmutation, which means we want to transmute people or objects from one unit in the flight simulation system to the other. And as we said, you can become volunteers to be the first person to be transmuted, the first group of people to be transmuted. The knowledge has reached that point, and we have achieved what we call continuity of knowledge expansion. And some of the things you've seen in the picture now is in this room. Some of what we showed before, you can see how the extension of the knowledge has come into play. We hope at the moment the system is under development and the production in Keshe Foundation research centers, where what we showed you in the past will become the present and the future of what we call the world of life of man. Here, if our camera can turn and we can show, you will see the first, what we call horizontal unit. In this unit, the doctors will be able to literally do anything man needs. It is not method. This is a plasma technology at the edge of science. It's been used. It's not something theoretical. It's been used. We have used it here. And you can literally, in time, the doctors can grow limbs. While you're in here, given times, amputated legs can be regrown. Heart surgeries you don't need to do, because each section of this system brings different application, different condition. And it's been said, it's not something that it might work, it's already been checked. It's controlled by a panel where doctors can decide which to, where to, how to bring in. Then what you see here again is the vertical unit. You don't need to go into that system. This one is getting built very much like the system we have in the fly zone, where you can go in and in next maybe month or two, it will be completed by our people, and literally you become passenger of universe, where you decide where you want to go, where you decide in how you want to extend it, where the knowledge of the plasma, not matter state, will kick in. One of the problems scientists have had in moving material is they always rely on electric. In the world of science, in the world of creation, is always plasma. Now that we have managed to create a plasma energy, all what man dreamt becomes a reality. You can go into the box, into the vertical unit, and literally move from one place to another. You decide. We know this very well. As I said before in the teaching a couple of weeks ago, and we have proven it is 100% correct. We send people into the flight zone simulation. They sit there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I decide not to say anything. And I ask them, have you been there? No. And I say, can you come out? They come out. Nothing happened. And like yesterday, I take them back in again. And I tell them, this time, you go there. Or when they're sitting in the flight system, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we allow the energy, the field of the body of the man to take over. Then we tell them where to go, and they go exactly where we tell them. And they come back. They decide after where to go, and then they tell us. And the beauty of it is, as I said, it's like when you go to an airport, you hang around till your flight time comes, and then it comes. New York, you know which gate to go to. But now, with this technology, you go into the machine, you decide, I want to go to New York. Like yesterday, the grandfather decides, I want to see my grandchildren, and the emotion of it is an amazing condition. When the grandfather feels the presence of the grandchildren he yearns for to see. When the son sees the father and the grandfather and tells the father, I met the grandpa, and he explains the emotion physically being there. And now we put people into the system and we wait for the whole evolution of the technology to kick in, to go, to see. And when it comes to this one, like a vertical unit, we see that when you go into this, you decide where you want to go. You decide you want to go to Mars. You decide you want to go to Grandpa. You decide to meet the grandpa died years ago in the dimension of the plasma. You don't need to hope and wait for one day you meet. You meet the minute you decide. And this brings a new dimension in the knowledge of man, where now we become control of the soul and the physicality at the same time. And this is what we set out to do. You decide what you call the dream, which is the travel of the soul, to bring the physicality to. So when you go into these new systems, we can send you now with the knowledge we have. The system is actually getting fitted now by our people behind me. You can go from one system to another. In the next few months, you go from, as I promised, one side of the bridge to the other above us. And then the universe is your oyster. The technology is complete and is not a talk anymore. It's not that it might happen. It's happened, it's here. And I hope you knowledge seekers enjoyed this trouble. I hope as knowledge seekers, you understand the totality of the work of this system, this knowledge, this technology. As we said, welcome to the world of plasma. Evolution in science, evolution next step for man with plasma to decide a new future for the human race and how we decide to deal with each other. Does energy become a bargaining power? You got to understand what we saw with Corona last year. If this happens in Europe and the gas production, which is now stopped to Germany, who dies? It is not political decision to show the power of the Russia can control. The old, the sick, the operation which needs to be done on the cancer will be delayed or cancelled because there's no energy in the hospital. Children will be born premature and there is no machine to sustain them. There is so much that this energy production unit will change. We don't need to wait in Africa if the Western nations are prepared to build a refinery or to build a power generator for us. This is one of the reasons Africa is suffering so much, because Africa is not getting subsidy for the nuclear power stations. Africa is not getting subsidy for solar cells, solar villages, the way it's done in the West. Africa has reached, according to the United Nations, to the maximum production of the hydroelectric power using all the rivers. And the nations cannot grow any further because they don't have the power, they don't have the electricity. They don't have the money to buy oil, to burn, to buy gas, invest, rob, sell arms to keep your nationals happy. Now with this technology, Africans stand on the same leg as the Western nations. Africans stand the same position as the Western nations. They have access to unlimited supply of energy. They have access to unlimited knowledge that they can use, the scientists can use in parallel with the Western scientists. It gives opportunity that we don't see the brain drain from Africa into the Western nations, that Western nations show they're the best because they pulled in, they have taken everything in. We've seen in NASA, most of the scientists are not Americans. They become Americans because the knowledge has brought them and given them an American passport. We see the same thing in Microsoft. Where has come? Microsoft was recruiting Chinese before, now recruiting Romanians, Bulgarians, and the rest, and it's become all American company, which in fact is all one nation company. And this is what I went to Ghana for, to make sure that the African nations become dependent on their own resources and the African nations stay in their own power. There is no need for people to travel to another country, risk their lives, go on the high seas, pay all sorts of things. We see the most elite scientists becoming cleaners and what knows, you see the bridge still running, or what we call security man in the hand of the other places in London, and then become the president of the nation of Gambia. Because he used to live in the West, he knows more than we do. And we'll see the end of abuse. What is nice to see, and in the coming weeks we'll show, as I said, the discussion of petroleum. We show you how to make, if you need fuel, diesel, petrol. We don't need to use a diesel and petrol anymore. A small conversion on your car with a gas production we have finished with the diesel and fuel. As I said, in the next maybe 10 years, 5 years, when we pass the fuel stations, we call them the old dinosaurs. It will not even worth to take the banners of the fuel stations down, because as you know, especially in Europe, if you buy a fuel station, the ground has been certified clean from oil contamination, which is initially uranium contamination within the oil which was exported. As I said, we saw the telephone boxes in London, and I saw when the mobile came, the fuel stations with what sits in front of you finishes everything. Now all electric cars is on the cart, where you do not need to charge. All electric cars that you don't need to go to a point of charge, that they burn the gas, they burn the oil hundreds of kilometers away, and they sell it to you as a green energy because you can't see it, so we blind you with it. You put a system in your car and all cars will become electric. And the beauty with it is you see DC and AC application of the generator, which means can create power, can give you the condition of the torque that you need to create motion. And if you go a step further, maybe in 5 or 10 years, maybe what we wanted to show on 25th of November 2011, when the damnation of the Belgian officers and the obstruction of the what we call demise king of Belgium, they came to my lab and they took the facilities away to show the first what we call levitating car. In that process, we come to the point that do we even need to convert this into electric? Do we even need to bring this in a position of even running a wheel? Then you can understand this plasma energy can create levitation, can create gravitational magnetic field positioning, can create a condition that all of us will become independent of the government's supply of electricity, energy resources, and the rest. In a way, as our camera is moving to another position, production and creation of what we call what you all did, and I trained you well for it in past years, conversion of the hydrogen, conversion of what we call the plasma technology, which you all done, has made this possible, that you can see the power generator in front of you. The interesting part for our governments is, can they stop you to produce H3 or hydrogen or other materials in your kitchen? And as we saw with a Chinese little girl of 5 years old on the floor of the kitchen, she's making it. Our children will learn this knowledge as they were born with it. Our children will take this to the next step, the way the second generation of human race with the new computers are creating new dimensions. And we see how we'll bring the change in. I stay here for days and weeks. You will see this is running. And it will run. It will run for as long as the whole system is recharging. But the beeping is nothing to do with the plasma technology. The beeping is to do with man current conversion technology. If we change all our what we call lights and heating in the conversion of the plasma, then we don't need this inverter. Go back into the patterns. I even explain in the patterns. Lights, which are the plasma lights, The biggest problem you have with the plasma lights is to switch them off, because it's like a sun. When it starts, it runs for life. Would in the very near future we come to carry, instead of LED light, we call them a plasma light, which is nothing in it except the condition of plasma. You converted the CO2 into light. My biggest fear is the way we are going with the application of this technology, human race has to decide how much CO2 we extract from the atmosphere, because if we go too far, we can create the problems that we have to dig back into the oils, for example, and keep on burning them just over the what we call oil fields to create enough CO2 that the rest of us can pick it up somewhere else to convert it. In a way, it'll come back full circle. Or we develop technologies which we extract fields from the universe onto Earth that we can charge these batteries. But then this has another problem, that what other radiations or materials or fields we pull in beyond the solar system into us, because of us, beyond on Earth, because we are not used to. The biggest problem for human race from now on is not just to look at the what we call CO2 pollution or the global warming, is what fields from the beginning now, as I have explained, is to see what fields from the universe we attract. What are we bringing in? How much of it we're bringing in? Because now we have a plasma. What are we locking into? And then you understand the dilemma of a new technology for man is the use of the technology. That blue light explains the blue planet, but that blue light brings a change for all of us. I can sit here and we can have as many dinners and breakfasts till the cows come home, as we say in English, and the system will still work. Now the question comes, how us as humanity will work with this? How us as a human race move into the plasma technology to produce the present transition of time from matter into plasma. At the moment, it's interesting for you to see the gas, but this is a gas in a plasma condition. It has different properties than what you're used to as a normal gas. Would we need to use gases anymore? Or what do we use the gases for? What do we create with them? What do we need to do with them? These are the questions that the human race in the coming centuries and decades has to answer for its need, for its demand from the energies of the universe. And now you understand why we call all these universal energy system, universal plasma energy system, because they tap into the energies of the universe. They tap into what Keshe Foundation stands for. We are a spaceship organization, which means we bring the knowledge of space to man and how it will be gifted with a new technology. As I said, we welcome you to the world of plasma. The elusive energy generator you've been looking for, and now, in a way, it sits right with you. It's beautiful to see. We see the light of the freeze, the man-made, and the light of the sun, the creator above it, coming from the top. Both shine the same, but bring different messages to mankind. Live with the light of the universe and enjoy the time like the rest of the creation, or stick to your powers and let the Arabs, the Iranians, the Americans, the Canadians, and the rest to take you for ransom for energy. Work with us with the knowledge of the creator, and no one takes no one to ransom. But this is the beginning, and we'll see how things develop. We see how everything else will move on. As I said, when you look The light is still on. The plasma still working. This is the man's job that we have to convert for you to AC. And then you'll understand the process of the technology in bringing the knowledge through the Keshe Foundation is complete. We go for a small break and we come back. And then I answer any questions as usual we do on Thursdays, and we call it a day. But meanwhile, you hear a lot of bleeping because man's life harvest was bleeped. Now we have to sort this bleeping for you to become part of the universal community without the bleep. Rick, if you'd like to take us out of bleaking time in something interesting, and we come back.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. What a great demonstration and very inspiring. Okay, we'll take a short break here and for some commercial messages and be back shortly.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a space technology that allows you to work with the fields of the universe. Creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions, it allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the man can follow to find their balance, elevating the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
Okay, welcome back to Earth here and the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. This will be the second part of our workshop here today, and this again is the special energy blueprint day, part 2, and we're back with Mr. Keshe now, I believe. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, we are back in. Welcome back. And if there are any questions, except those, can you tell us how you build it, what it is? And is this Gansen and that, which we don't answer, as we always say. You had 15 years to do it. Patents were released to you 10 years ago, and to your governments over 12 years ago, or 10 years ago. So the beauty of it is how much the humanity will benefit by this. Would you like to change your screen? We are how, where, somewhere. Rick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort that out here. I have to stop my share in order to get yours up. Here we go.
Okay. So we come into what we call, you see this unit still running. We see this unit still at these elements and showing its work. Any questions?
Well, of course, the first question was, can I see inside the device? Which I responded in YouTube with a simple no. But you're used to that question. And I assume that it's the same in this
Must
case.
be an Italian asking that question. They usually ask that.
The name is Tarak. I don't know if they're particularly Italian. Let me see. A reminder, attendees here, that you can put up your virtual hand, and then you can we can open your microphone so you can ask a question directly. Did have a question from Joel in the Q&A here in Zoom, who says, Mr. Keshe, thank you again for your welcome in Linz. We are indeed still connected to the flight unit. For the unit dedicated to electric cars that I created, thanks to your teachings, I could see that the battery health was still 100% after 4 years of use. Do you have any information on the state of wear of the batteries in the current trials? I think that the plasma compensates the deficit of consumption generated by the use of the energy of the battery and regenerates it.
Not really. It pulls it in by other system which feeds it. It's in a way, as you say, it's another way of putting it. The plasma is always available in the environment of it. It depends what it pulls out of it. There is something which we never thought in the teachings, but it'll become important for many of you knowledge seekers to realize, which is an addition to the knowledge of present time. I'm going to take over with the whiteboard and then I'll explain it. In the present science, we call them isotopes. Let me get this thing sorted. When we call it isotopes in so many different ways, even with the hydrogen, we call it 1, 2, hydrogen 2, or what we call tritium. Or we have different carbons, so whatever we call it, carbon 13, carbon 14, and the rest of it. Or we go into understanding the totality of the knowledge, which is lacking in the world of physics of today. How do we create these isotopes? How? And the reason that isotopes are created that never been understood and it's just been accepted. As a nuclear physicist, this was one of the first things I had to understand. You call it isotopes. I call it different direction energy packs. It's very easy. I always say, if you can't understand it in the micro, go to macro, and you understand it very easy. In the present world of physics, astronomy, whatever you call, you have all the planet, stars, rotate in a, what we call, doesn't matter, clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. This gives you, let's say, hydrogen. How come I lost my pen? Yeah. So this gives you the hydrogen. And then how does a hydrogen attracts an additional neutron? What condition changes it? Why some planetary system have 1 moon, and some planetary system have 2 moons, and some planetary systems have 12 moons? Is there any difference in the world of physics between the planetary system and their moons and atomic structure and electrons? There is no difference. But the interesting thing for many of us is this my microphone? Is it me? The conference. My battery is loose. Just 1 second. We get the hashing out of the thing. I think it's running out of battery. Bear with us for a few seconds that we can change the battery.
Should be fine.
Can you hear me now? Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, we had to change the battery. The headphone was playing games. So what it is, we have this moon, combination of moons and other structures. Let's say if we call it hydrogen with 1 electron, Earth with 1 moon. In a plasmatic condition, what we call in a matter state neutron and protons, they sit inside as a, what we call the games. These are the plasmatic energies which we have never understood. How come we still have tritium, but still with 1 electron, with 1 moon? So if we create a condition of different structures, we attract different number of moons or electrons. Earth, to the present world of physics, is a hydrogen because it has only 1 electron. But how does it become deuterium and how does it become tritium? Very simple. Again, go back to the world of creation. What do? Give it a twist. Give it an angle. You call it the axis of the Earth is 5 degrees or whatever off axis of the vertical position, which gives you seasons, which gives you different absorption of energy. So if in a nuclear science we look at the totality, maybe deuterium stays this way. Tritium has axis rotation on its nucleus field, and deuterium is slightly twisted. On Earth, we call it seasons. In nuclear plasma physics, we call it isotopes. It does not matter what sits, how many protons, electrons sits inside. In the plasma technology is the essence of the fields and the strength it produces in its spectrum. Now, for the first time, you understand plasma as isotopes of plasma. And if we understand this, now we can create nuclear radiation. This is what I do. You create different angles. We create, is it back again, my microphone, or is it sitting on the control panel? So now for the first time, we know if we twist it a little bit, we get decay. We twist it. You want to change the microphone? Is it the microphone? It comes from noise interference of the systems. So if we twist it slightly to a different angle, you get deuterium. Or is this deuterium? And this becomes your, what we call the hydrogen. Different angle in collective plasma dictates the seasons, the field in radiation. And this will become part of the teaching in the future, because I cannot find a nuclear material, but I have the knowledge which I can twist the plasma of the center, the plasma of the material, and putting it in that angle will give me gamma radiation, alpha radiation, and any other radiation, even into deep cosmos radiation, which one has no knowledge of. What's on the screen is a gold dust to nuclear physicists and plasma physicists, if they understand it. It's the cornerstone of the new plasma technology. This is why I carry nuclear material in hand without, because my body coming from deeper space knows how to transfer. This picture on the screen is the cornerstone of the new plasma technology for deep space. I can release from different position of this energies that the present nuclear weapon technology cannot even match. We're switching the microphone for a second, please. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
I have to change the microphone. So now you understand. Today, I haven't given you plasma technology. This is a knowledge which man needs, and most probably is more important to you than the energy power supply you have seen. This is the secret of creation. And how you twist or position the central core, central plasma, dictates how many moons you attract. What is the combination of the fields in that process that allows for it to be done? I told you, I start teaching you beyond knowledge. This is what you have to understand. And if you understand this, if the physicists understand this, a new world of science and technology in plasma has started. Then, if you understand this and take it a step further, this plasma can be energy of your soul. How does it move? That makes one character to become a murderer, one character to be a lover, and how so rapidly we move from one to another. There is no difference in the world of creation. It's the man who doesn't understand it brings that difference. Then you understand how we interact with you in the flight system. You cannot go into space if you do not understand this. This is the cornerstone of the creation and the work of creation. We're still trying to fix this. This is the first fundamental teaching on the plasma technology in a universal condition. But now, for man to understand how to twist it, like the Beckham does, is a riddle for thousands of years. If you know how to deal with this atom of hydrogen, as I say in English, an atom of hydrogen is and can behave as plutonium. How you twist it, how you angle it, how you speed it up decides how many moons it'll attract. It'll decide how many electrons you attract. Because in a matter state, you look at what we call nucleus. And then what we call in plasma technology as one plasma. And what decided in this plasma dictates the position number of the moon, and then in the nuclear industry, what field radiation you want to take from which moon. The way you created gold, well, and the way we created hydrogen gas from. Beginning of a new era in the world of plasma technology and physics for man. Up to now, we dealt with the matter state physics. From now on, we deal with the world of the plasma physics, the true plasma physics, not the game in CERN or tokamak and what we've seen in nuclear industry in the past few decades. You do not need much to create the effect of plutonium from single atom of hydrogen. We do not need to bring and change the condition. This is what I said in the past few teachings, directly going for IAEA and directly going for what we call the sanctions on Iran. Iranian nuclear physicists have access to the knowledge that man cannot dream. What do you want me to create plutonium in and where? 100% pure. Not the way they're tackling it and worrying about 20% enrichment. I give it to you as rich as it comes, 100%. Takes me 5 seconds. this is what we say, this is what will take time to actually siphon off into the world of science and technology, and to show that with a single atom, you can have all conditions of the universe, all materials. Uranium, plutonium are on the bottom scale if man is looking for matter state. How do you handle when you have 2,000, 3,000 energy of electrons? What will be your response? In deep space, how do you think these fields of the universe get to us? How do they divide? How do they create new life? And then, now with one knowledge, you understand the soul of the man, the matter energy of the man, what we call the plasma energy of the universe is all the same. Now, welcome to the true knowledge of creation. New plasma technology, new science for man, new understanding of how things can be implemented and applied. If you noticed, you don't hear much bleeping behind me as much as the beginning. But if you put the camera on, you will see that the systems are still running. Would you like to switch over and show and come back on the screen again to the whiteboard? The more you run, the more you absorb from the environment. You remember when we started, we seen how fast it was bleeping because it was just brought in. As Klaus said, we just brought the system for security reasons half an hour before presentation. And now you see it, it takes shorter time. And through to its use, the fridge is still working. And a small slow cooker can still cook. We told you a few weeks ago about how we are about to set things up to go into mass production. Many of you, the last leg of millions of euros Keshe Foundation invested, try to help to bring it out. We reveal to you that this process will gives the possibility for new factories with new knowledge and technology to be set up and gradually to go through transition. Those who are setting up and trying to get this sorted have taken too long. We have two choices. The Keshe Foundation has been defrauded by millions, or they deliver the material which they promised. We reveal their names and their organizations, and I'm sure they do not like to know their names been released. And then we ask for action against the whole structure, or we see their support as they promise to deliver, that we, on the back of our knowledge, can deliver the technology. And then we ask you where to find these people and how to handle them. And then we go to the government, that no organization can be defrauded by millions of dollars of its assets. We hold the name back and the structure back. They asked us for a few more days. If we do not receive it, then we release how many millions Keshe Foundation has paid. That when we release this technology, we don't rely on governments to support us. We rely on the strength of the whole wealth of the knowledge of and the wealth of the Keshe Foundation. Then you understand, we will structure the whole, what we call the production of the new systems on a new way, our way, that every factory will be across this planet, that no nation will be depending on the other. And then collectively, we bring the new science and the application of it, be it on the energy, on transportation, on food, and the rest. Do we need to use the fertilizers and contaminate the land for centuries? We don't need to anymore. If you understand the process of this, we will show you how this can be done. And do we need even to produce materials to use as fertilizer or replace it? Do we go to the next step of conversion of the fields into food? Do we go into process of understanding the whole process of the creation and bring that change for us to be there to create the condition of flow, the energy flow that we need, that we can produce what we said, the way we said it, and the way it should be done in the universe. I cannot send you to Earth to pick up a fish and chips or a kebab. Sorry, there are no meats and no breads in that corner of the universe. But you still can create what it creates as the emotion of it. The way the father or grandfather created the emotion of the grandchild. Smell, I asked him. He said, I couldn't smell. I was too busy trying to feel. The whole knowledge has changed. The whole structure of the knowledge has changed. And now you see, we call it climatization. The system is climatizing. Will produce electricity forever. As we say in English, till the cows come home. And God knows if there are any cows come home, because we don't need them anymore. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up with Selemium here. Could you go ahead, Selemium?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. I'm so happy that you released what you promised to, and also because you answered to my wish from Universal Council that Keshe Foundation will serve the humanity by giving kind of free energy. For me, this generator is free energy. And my question now is related.
I don't like that term of free energy.
You don't like free
create
plasma.
the word. Let me tell you what you understand.
Yeah.
Exactly this time, 6 years ago, the guy who created this terminology of free energy was a pedophile connected to the structure of the Belgians, who the free energy meant the free life of the children they took. And this terminology came from Sterling, and it was free because they had a king behind them that could take any child free. And the Keshe Foundation, because of the new technologies, bringing many young people around us, and a lot of people coming with their children, use it to access. And exactly, if you go back on the history of the Keshe Foundation, August of 2017 or 16, if you check it, we revealed the hand of this man, and our websites became that. There's not a free energy. This is a universal energy. Free energy, when it comes up, is for pedophiles and abusers of children, and typically Belgians. So if you talk about, you don't know the history of the Keshe Foundation. The guy now is in solitary life sentence for raping his 2 daughters at the age of 6, 8, 10 weeks. These people are free energy. So when we talk about the plasma universal energy, that's what this technology is.
My question is related to the fractal of the universe as a toroidal, this magnetical and gravitational McGrath. People call toroid, and we call infinite loop of McGrath, going and coming of energy. I don't know if my language is appropriate, but this is the energy of the universe. the toroid as a fractal of the universe.
So what are you trying to tell us, please?
That Unicos is a toroid. We as human beings, we are toroids. Plasma is a toroid. And maybe what we use here is an impact of the toroidal plasmatic energy. This is my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to know from you if there's any link. And the link with the seed.
Everything comes, you put name to it. Everything comes
Yes.
from motion of the fields.
Yeah.
What name you put on it is what you understand of it at that point. So you can call it anything you like. You call it toroid, you call it tokamak, you call it CERN, it's all the same. It's how the field, the plasma is what we call the field of universe. How much does that universe allows you to extend, and where to escape to is the direction that you might call it emotion, you might call it a dream, and all sorts of things which we decide in the background ourselves. We have used too many names for the same effect. If we bring it together, then it has no what I call diversion. You see, as I said, you don't see it. Maybe you see it here in the background. On the floor here, you see sunlight. Knowledge of the man should be like this, like the sun, like the rays of the Creator. Does not matter if the spot on the floor is black, blue, yellow, or brown. It shines the same on all of it. And it's man who has chosen different name and colors for the same structure of beauty of the Creator. And now you depends how you see it. Is the color you see the same black as me, or is it the same brown as you see it? And this is what it has to be. The knowledge, we try to put something into it to make it that we understand more, become more intelligent. But in fact, there is no intelligence when the light of the Creator shines on us. It's us who decide on it. So it's us who chooses how we call it. If you see it, we call it the sun. If you see it the other way, we call it the light from the lamp, or we call it the cosmic rays, which we cannot see it as the light the way we are used to. So it's us who creates terminology. And this is the problem with all our work. Now, today, in a simple way, I showed you the atom and the planetary system as we've done before, and now with the plasma. And for the first time, you understand how isotopes are created in the field radiation, which allows different field strength inside to show themselves, as we call, has 1 neutron more or 20 neutrons more. It is the matter state which we decided, but as energy, the whole lot of nucleus becomes 1 and dictates the position of that electron, or this what you call moon. So you can play with words, but the essence doesn't change.
Thank you very much. I experience also myself.
Sorry, can I go to something, please?
Please.
Can we stop there? If the knowledge seekers in the background measure the time between each time the system switches on and off, and go back at the beginning and just measure how much is extending the time of the switch on switch off. We'll come to the point after few hours and few days that it will never go off. You won't get that even bleeping. And just measure it. When we started, we just about half an hour, 20 minutes before you came online, you saw how frequently it was changing, and you measure it now. What's the space gap? What's the time gap? And then we show it. This is a true generation of power from what we call the field of universe. From where the universe sent us the energy, and now we managed not to convert it, but to apply it and use it the way it should be. Rick, any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
I had also something to add, if you allowed me, about...
Can we go to the next question, please, to give a chance to the others?
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a question in YouTube, sorry, from a live stream from you, who says, we know that plasma emits a spectrum of fields. Is my understanding therefore correct to say that isotopes of plasma are just the use and access of a specific range of the fields of plasma?
If you understand nuclear decay, and if you go back into matter state of how the scientists today explain nuclear decay, falls apart when you come into the plasma understanding of it. And how it falls apart is that if you move the plasma in a certain position, the integrity of the field strength cannot hold on. And that strength holding to the collection of fields creates the division, creates what we call the splitting of the plasma. And then we understand nuclear decay totally in a different way than what we've done up to now. And this brings back a lot of new understanding into the whole system and the structure of what we call matter state atoms. Then we understand, even in the body of the man, how thalamus and thymus change vitamin C to vitamin A. All it does, it gives it enough energy to change the twist of it. Otherwise, it's the same what we call lymph cell. It doesn't do anything else with it. It's like you're sitting in a shooting range and shooting at a ball in a given angle to give it a given twist. If it hit the top of it, it goes down. If it's sideways, it goes sideways. And you give it a slow and a high speed. Then we understand how the world of even biology, which we have accepted, will change. As I said, I can make a plutonium, uranium from its behavior from a single hydrogen. And that's what it is. When you eat food, becomes part of the energy of the lymph, then what happens? When it comes through the process to thalamus and thymus in connection with each other, it gives it a twist to the energy which the body needs, what we call what could be energy of a vitamin D or with energy of vitamin C. And this is what we have not understood up to now. The speed of rotation, the angle of the rotation, we have chosen different names in direction of the release of the fields from them. If you're rotating this way, you release less energy. If you rotate slightly with a different angle, you give more energy. And that energy in interaction with the other fields going in that direction creates radiation. Rubbing of the hands, but this time comes from inside. This is what I'd say, plasmatic nuclear is totally different than matter nuclear. We created out of the interaction of the field of the plasma itself, not from release and everything else which we have accepted as nonsense in nuclear technology today. This is what has and what it needs to be understood. And then mankind will move to the next step.
Mr. Keshe, is Dean here. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you brought forward this incredible technology in this particular moment. So how long do you think this transition period will take in the matter state for this to materialize, to end some of the conditions that we have right now?
The way we see it, A lot depends on the behavior of the German government today. If German government is going to accept what we see the crisis in Western Europe and let people literally battle it out, we've seen today Italian Prime Minister is resigning because he cannot sort out the economical situation with the COVID and now with the energy crisis. Europe is going to run into a big problem. As well, I've said many times, mankind will accept my technology not out of his beauty, out of demise of himself. The German government, the French and Italians, which are the leading industrial groups in Europe, will bring this technology out very rapidly if they want to stop the whole process which is going on now and bring back the new economy into operation. And if the German government, especially what we call the new chancellor, goes and adopt this technology, has to go to his nation where he's come from, and he opens up. German government does not have the facility to build so many systems as we see off the cuff for the nation. So it has to go to save people, to teach the technology live online. How to make your energy system, how to make your, what we call, food system. But the problem with the governments will be very simple, and that is, the fear is, with cutting out the petroleum, they lose income. Then they have to restructure that all of us, according to what we contribute to the society, we pay taxes. Not but how much fuel we use. That's how the economy of the world has gone back to front. They tax us on the fuel, they tax us on everything, and who suffers more? The poor. Because a liter of fuel to me is 1 liter, and I earn $200 a week, and I need $50 to go from A to B, the same car. The rich man who earns 2,000 or 10,000 pays, he benefits by it more. It has to become society change. And we have few weeks for the German government to accept the new technology and bring it in rapidly, which one of the biggest problems will create. One of the reasons Europe now is sitting on the Keshe Foundation technology is that they have to end the Napoleon, what I call, situation with Belgium. And they accepted the country as a center of the Europe. How can you change it? The problem now with Germany sits to accept the rubbish fraud case they put for us by a pedophile king of Belgium and the Belgian government, and literally throw Belgium out of the EU and save the rest of the EU, or we stick to it, let the nation pay. Do 375 million have to pay with one pedophile king? Is worth of a king to save more than 375 million people suffering today? As simple as that. Unless the whole structure of the governing body are a bunch of pedophiles themselves. Or they've been taken ransom by it, the way we saw with what we call the situation in America, and the guy who even took the Prince of England to dust. Yeah. So it's not when we are in a point of, if we don't accept the technology, it'll come problems which we see in Europe. Hunger, short of energy, and the rest of it. And this time, the Chinese stole the technology and they put in the name of their scientists. This time they can't. The Germans have to put it out. The French have to put it out. And this is the dilemma in the next few weeks. When we show the mass production, industrial level of the, what we call the gases, is Germany go and say we don't have, or do the knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation go open, public on the German and say the technology is here, our government is supporting a pedophile king, and we are paying for it. We will see the end of kingship. And this is the whole purpose of understanding new technology. It's not just Belgium. All of us have to be equal. We choose somebody to be a president, he has to accept the burden of a nation. The same as now we have Universal Council members. They accept the burden of the language, what they have to do. Yeah. So will it come out? Germany doesn't have time. In 2 months' time, as the German ministers say, there's going to be unrest in Europe because of the lack of dialogue. People cannot pay for the fuel. There is not a fuel to pay for. You know, during the Second World War, Jews had a lot of gold, but was worth nothing. They couldn't buy bread. Yeah? Having all these hungry people, but having the money in the banks, you cannot pay for the fuel which doesn't come, it's not going to help. We are in a situation. Open up the technology, release it the way it's here in front of you, plus the gas we showed in Tehran, which means it cannot be, it's not another scientist who find how to run an engine with the water and the Belgian poisoned him on the table. And the brother is scared to talk because they've threatened him too, the Belgians. We paid for this technology to be open with the life of Fabio, exactly 6 years ago. And the time has come that the King of Belgium, the Belgian state, identified as a pedophile state, go under sanctions, change of government, open the country, take these ridiculous things they put on Keshe Foundation. Because of him, then we see the expansion, because there is a need. Government will not be there, it will be riots. This is the report by the government themselves, not us. Europe cannot. How long more the directors of Fox will be pressurized to support this, or will they open or let him go? And then we see the change. Then the scientists in Europe, America will work together, we bring a new industry. It's finished when you can show you can create energy out of air. What is the need for it?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So this is helping humanity and ending some of the suffering and some of the conditions that many people are going through in these moments. So taking it the next stage further, in the other room, we have the capabilities to travel in a different way. On a soul level, this becomes the universal community, and this is where the Universal Council steps into position, making wishes and bringing about many fundamental changes with thoughts and intentions. So how long will this transition be for humanity to take the leap?
Centuries.
Why do you say that?
You've been here and you've seen people coming out of the room. You record them.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and you see how they're touched, how they feel. Yeah. We see them coming with tears. We see them different way because you record them after they come in, the ones who want to talk. So how many of these systems can we make that the whole of humanity can go in? Yeah, that's the position. Or can we teach it that we can do it without? That's a transition time. That's how we do. How long we take to change.
Humanity is going to be, it's not going to be an instant transition. This is going to be a gradual filtering process. You think will take some
depends how our governments do. We shouldn't have a nation which is a communist, a nation which is monarchist, a nation which is democracy, which is actually run by the monarchists in the background in different names. Has to be open. When we become all equal, understanding, then we change. Then we have that, what we call the balanced field. We don't need to go to America to find freedom and wealth. We find wealth within us, doesn't matter where we are. And this is the whole understanding of this new technology. Yeah, we've been here 4 or 5 weeks now. We see how some people come out of that room and how it changes their life when they come out. When I see the face of the lady who came out yesterday, she said, I don't want to tell people what I've seen with Christ, otherwise people won't believe me. And I'll become a stick with that. She didn't want to be recorded.
No, she didn't. No.
She didn't want recorded, but she gives us the exact detail of what and what we promised past decades will bring you. People will tell you, you go. And then if these people become more and more people who've been through their ancestors, met, felt, they'll see him in different conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. This is available now through the foundation. These units are going to be.
These have been put on sale. We're delivering it in December and January. Our main target now is, if you go on the Keshe Foundation website on the sale, we have put a gas production for 22 million for governments for 100,000 liters a day. This is the industrial part of the Keshe Foundation. This is not sold through the Keshe Foundation sales, is the assets of the Keshe Foundation Holland. Keshe Foundation sale just represents the technology, but everything belongs to the foundation. In a very near future, all the assets of the Keshe Foundation will be transferred to Holland. And everything which we own under different name, and this technology will go into Markray very soon. Markray, we own 97%. It's not Mehran Tawakkuli Keshe as a shareholder, it's a Keshe Foundation as a shareholder. And we have millions, it's their assets. So we are not showing, touching, speculating in the market. It's us, and this is a technology which Markray will open internationally. And then that asset belongs to the foundation. And then it's in the hand of you as Universal Council members and Universal Council, Earth Council members, how this new structure will work.
Yeah. So that interaction between the Earth Council and the Universal Council, that's going to be, how does that go into formalize?
The Earth Council and Universal Council are going to be set as two companies. And then they interact with the Keshe Foundation as a structure holder to carry out the wishes, and how we carry out the wishes, that the Africans don't get everything and Americans get nothing. The beauty with the Earth Council is that they make sure that everything is shared equally across in knowledge, in wealth, and that's what the structure is. Universal Council is to bring the other dimension in how it has to be done ethically and correctly with everything, not only with man, but behind man. And we had our beautiful friend from Malta here yesterday who went through the system. Malta is going to be, we want to establish the center for what you can council in Malta as an island and as a structure of democracy, even with all the mafia strength in the back of it and the Vatican as the Prince of Malta. That is an island where anybody can come to. That is not made for man. It's for the whole structure with the universal community. And it's where the Christ landed. And we will build the place in that place. It's just time. It's just time when we are ready. And Emmanuel is working very hard trying to get this sorted with us, with what you call it, with the Maltese. But the headquarters of the Keshe Foundation will be in Malta. It's just finding the time. We spend enough time there trying to establish it, and it brought a lot of freedom, Malta, for me 2 years ago, and that freedom is reflected to humanity. So we have to set the companies, we have to build a structure in Malta, and use the island that no nation can do. If you look at the structure of the United Nations today, it's absolutely disaster. American decides who goes to United Nations and where they stay. Now with this technology, any ambassador, any world leader, or any person can appear in the hall of United Nations. It's the story of the donkey and the bell. You remember the bell, ringing the bell, where the king puts us, bring the owner to see what's. At the moment, what we have no say. With Malta, we have a say. We see the gain going off and coming back up. But this is the man breaks up system. This is the plasma technology of the future. It's still there. It doesn't change. There we are.
And I can confirm as well that being
and
present.
there we are again. Ta-da! The light is on.
Yes, on.
Magic.
It's wonderful to see this, and the fact that we've shown it that the whole system is completely self-dependent. There's nothing around it. It literally is a self-contained unit that is.
We can dance with it. I mean, it can go anywhere you like with it.
And that is a wonderful thing.
And this has been many sleepless nights for Klaus and the people. Even they were till 10, 11 o'clock last night. They were there putting it. I see the pictures. They were putting it together. Many of you might think, what is here? Down here are the switches and the controls. We better don't show the inside the stomach of the system, do we?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for everything you're doing. That's quite incredible. And for me, it's a very, very monumentous day that does bring about some very big changes. I know the first Blueprint Day significantly changed things. However, this next stage, and then the third stage where you bring in the gas and the oils, that's going to make
the gas and then the water, production of the water,
and
the biggest shortage. The gas is important because of what we have, the crisis in Europe. And then the other part of the gas is important because we have fires in Europe. We have no way to control it. And we will introduce new fire control system through the Keshe Foundation, where we create a plasma, which a plasma leaves a man to live, but stops the fire. The beauty with this new plasma technology, which we bring for fire, is the animals will stay alive. Usually when you use CO2, you kill. With this, because it's a gas plasma, allows the man to use it to survive. It's the way we do.
So can you explain that a little bit more? So that the animals, you're saying that the animals,
no life will be lost with use of this.
No,
like normally you suffocate when you have too much CO2 in the air, basically. People are stuck in tanks and so on underneath the ground. Sometimes they can get overcome by CO2.
Yes, that's your matter state, Rick. But if you look, all of you have been using the CO2 and ZN gases for COVID, for health application. So if it kills in the matter state, it heals in the plasma state. Now you understand? So that's the difference. It's the same. With a new, what I call fire extinguisher, you call it plasma fire extinguisher, if you call it, we don't kill anymore. The energy of the plasma becomes energy of life. Maybe even you've been suffocating with the plasma. Now that CO2 helps you to live, gives you the energy. It's a different ballgame, but we all know it because we use it. If any of you ever thought for past years, all these CO2s we are absorbing should have killed us in our homes. But we use it. We use this amino acid to give life back to us, because we are not dealing with this matter state. We're dealing with this plasma state. And now we understand it. So when it comes to fire, it's a matter state, but life is a plasma state. So it gives life to the tree, it gives life to the animal who's in the fire, it gives life to the man who's dying, but on the other hand, it stops the growth of the, what do you call it, oxygen, lack of oxygen conversion.
Could be like a fire suit for the firemen that are fighting the forest fires, for example. A protective dome around them.
We don't need, you don't need to. You just create a plasma around the fire in the wood, and that's it. The animals survive. But the beauty with this situation with the methane gas and the CO2, when it comes to play, because a lot of you are not used to it, it'll create rain. In the forest, it starts usually because it's too dry. When you use this combination the right way, not only you stop the fire, now you create rain. So what was the cause of the fire? So like we see it in California, we see it, a lot of states in Europe now are on the red alert with a lot of fires, with the wood fires. So it's a different change. Maybe in the next 12 months, when we hear fire, not as much as what we see today, but we have to understand we need the fires to start a new life.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's what we call the phoenix effect, rising from the ashes.
And so this plasma effect for the fire when you extinguish the fires, this is a plasmatic condition? Is it a physical? Do we see
yes,
it?
yeah.
Will see it?
We plan it next week. Hopefully, if we can show it, we'll start a fire and we show you fire.
Okay.
And we drop a chicken in it, see if the chicken walks away with it. It is what it is. It's the way. But we have to, it'll take a long time for what we showed last Monday and today to be understood. Yeah. And next week, we have the dealing with the German government and the French to stop the what we call decline of the economy. And then we see the next step.
And do you see this as in this moment now? Do you sense that these what we've shown today? Do you sense that this will change?
I don't sense it. We set it up that way. Yeah. I don't sense.
So it's a position that's taking place.
Yeah, it's a setting up. We are already in communication with the German government, and it's the next step to that level. But you have to realize, even for them to understand this is very heavy. And to accept this, especially coming from a nuclear uranium physicist, is the hardest thing for them. Yeah. And then they look at what the Peter files in Belgium have done. They cannot fix how this happened. Yeah. Yeah. I put a condition on the supply of the technology to the Germans. Blockage of Belgium. This is a precondition. We don't allow no Belgium to move out till we find out which one is Peter file, which one is doing what they do, because they are propagating. We've seen them, how they work across. And it has to be contained, because we cannot, it's like man killing. Now, these people abuse. If you take into space, it's clear. When we put people in that machine, if I tell them to go to Kathmandu, none of them go to Kathmandu. But if I tell them we go to France and Paris, all of them to go to Paris. Why? Because we had a French couple here. Yeah. They brought the essence of the France. Yeah. We tell people, the Germans, to go to Italy or to Paris. We had yesterday, the German guy wants to go to Paris and he can go there. He visits his grandchildren because the line of energy to that is open. So if we open this to Belgians, you've seen it, they came here, we refuse them, we don't even let them to come into the building. Yeah? They are scared of the society and they have to be contained till they find a solution for them.
So that's interesting you said. So literally, as the nations and the people come in and go through the system, we would not require the incorrect conduct of the Belgians to go into the system and be part of it.
No,
so
they've been refused.
They refused. Would they even walk in?
They can't.
They can't.
They can't. They take their soul out. We know how it works. Yeah. Yeah. But that's what this is with them. It's not just Belgium, it's the structure we sit. We have more pedophilia in Saudi Arabia. Belgians are the tip of the iceberg. Okay. Yeah. I was explaining. We spend a lot of money of the United Nations goes to buy children which are in trafficking from Africa and North India for the Saudis' pleasure. Huge amount of funds of the United Nations goes to buy the children back, and the same few days later appear down the road with the same people, because they have created this kind of. But if you put sanctions on a nation with knowledge and technology like this, for 80 million to suffer, how we allow 8 million abuse our children and still be part of the center of the United States, unless the members of European community are the same. Is EU center for all these activities? That's why nobody wants to stop it. Yeah. You understand? So we have Strasbourg, move EU headquarters to Strasbourg. They do it twice a year, make it permanent. We have to answer the question with this technology is not just the technology. A lot of things done. Do we need prisons? Or whether we change the people, we put them in this machine like this, and if we change them, they become the best things in society. If we can convert Christians to Muslims and radicalize them in prisons, we can put the same system and make a human out of them in prisons. Do we need hospitals? Now is the next step. Cleaning up.
Cleaning up the mess.
Cleaning up the mess. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
for all
Keshe.
your work for the
Thank you,
foundation.
Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, I've got a couple of questions, and some of the comments in the YouTube are related. First of all, with the fuel creation unit, is that self-sufficient, or does it plug into grid or a battery system?
Which fuel?
Well, you showed the hydrogen fuel creation.
No, it's independent. It's independent.
Okay. And now something's come up with the oil industry, I've learned just recently, and that is it looks like there's going to be a shortage of oil for diesel oil for, trucks and other transport, rail transport, and so on, because of the additives that they put into the base oil stock. There's only two companies that make the additives, and they are both basically shut down for making additives. And it's a worldwide phenomenon that we're about to run out of diesel oil because of not having these additives, in which case the entire industry could, which supplies food and all of the things that we use and so on, could collapse. Now, will the new fuel creation unit that we're about to see in the next workshop, perhaps, would that or some other technology that the Keshe Foundation is using be able to create the additives that these diesel rigs need in order to continue operating? Or is that a different technology?
Put it this way, go back. We talked earlier on. It needs a small converter. You are a man of the engines. You suffer because of all the interactions you had with the fuel, but still.
Yes.
If we put a gas converter into the transport system which uses diesel, do we need diesel? Not really, do we?
Okay, right. I mean, there's
it's just as fast as the problem is if there are a lot of things accumulating with each other to bring what I said, this technology be accepted because of its need for human demise, is that we are short of fertilizers because of the Ukrainian situation. We become short of gas. We're short of other bits, which creates the other parts, because now gradually these gases are not just used for burning, gases are used for petrochemicals. They are going to be shortage. There are going to be a massive shortage on the whole acceptance of the structure. So we have to find ways in it and do what we've done in Keshe Foundation, mass teaching. The way, if you bring Rafael is on the line, people in Brazil, in jungles of Amazon are using this technology because knowledge seekers went and taught them. Are the Western citizens more illiterate and lack of knowledge than the people in Amazon using this technology? Have we gone that backwards? Do the people in Amazon understand more than the Europeans? So,
well, I definitely think I'd like to say something about that. In that, I definitely think that's what's happening, is that in our so-called developed countries, we've gotten to rely so much on the high technology. And a great example is the diesel trucks, which have this additive, the diesel exhaust fluid, that they have to buy this extra fluid that gets put in order for diesel trucks not to have as much pollution. And if you don't have that fluid, then the truck comes to a crawl literally and only can do 4 miles an hour. And this is true in Europe as well as in North America. And it's made it overly complicated. So if you have an old diesel in a third world country, it'll run fine. But if you have a modern diesel, the whole system can collapse so easily just because of not having this additive for the fuel for these vehicles. So that's another
the more
example.
advanced we get, the worse it gets. I don't know if I've told you this story. I used to work in Gambia, and Gambia is a nation forced on another nation, built out of how they built the Gambia is a river which goes right in center of what we call a country. British wanted to have a say in the middle of a French country in Africa. They put a boat on the river, put a cannon on it. Wherever the cannon they shot landed became a border of nation called Gambia. So Gambia has about 16 miles or 16 kilometers front on either side of the river, and then it narrows because the boat couldn't go any deeper and became longer. It's like a tongue in the, what do you call it, in another French nation. And I used to work and live quite a lot in Gambia. One day we decided to go to the interior because there was something built we wanted to have a look at. You drive on the beach, and then when you come near to it, you go inwards. This is the tradition in Gambia we used to do. And as we turned in, it was a very seasonal raining time, and it was all mud. And we were on this advanced four-wheel drive, stuck in the mud. We couldn't go anywhere because the mud was there. That's it. That was the end. We sat in the car that the rain stops, it dries up, and then we can pull. And while it was raining and we were waiting for the dry time, we heard a noise. And we just looked. It was a Gambian walking in the mud. And he passed us and he looked at us. With all the advanced technology you have, me barefooted past you. And this is how the technology is. The more advanced you get, when it comes to time of crisis, the more you fall back. So it is the way we are. And now people like you are expert in converting cars. We have to go back to gas. But that still is an interim. If we get the support of the governments to what we showed just a few minutes ago, when you look at this system, we talk it as a human resource system. If you look at this system, if you understand how it works, you shop from Amazon in China in the factory, they put it in the system, you receive it at home delivered to you within seconds. Do you need the diesel fuel? Do you need shipping? The knowledge comes differently, because now when people go into the enhancement unit, flight simulation, they sit there. When we tell them go to see your grandpa or go to New York or go to moon, we don't wait 18 hours or like Americans 7 days to get to the moon. It's instantaneous on the field of the universe. This is what the future is. Do we need all these razzmatazz we created, or we go through the transition time? And that's what it is. Do we need the diesel fuel, or do we push to the limit that the new technologies, the factories become eyesore as we build the car units and everything else? We don't need the transportation. Now we understand energy transport. Even so, stone has a soul. If we find the energy of the soul of a stone, we can move the stone. Up to yesterday, because we were trying to be very cautious, those of you who came here for past 3-4 weeks, we asked you to leave everything behind. You had to take all your jewelry, metal pieces out. Now, this week, we changed the system. The system is changed, and our team is still, as I said, that in there, changing it. We start seeing what we can do. Now we let people with the jewelry, with the everything except electronics to go in. You don't need to take your belts off anymore. You don't need to take your watch off anymore. Yeah. So we're learning, and we added to the process. If we came here the first week, we took everything off because we had to see the parameters to work. And people now go in and come out. We stop people with, what do you call it, bits and bobs added to their bodies to not to come in. Yeah, even you have a hip replacement. Now we have added enough. We see it's safe for them to come in. So if we can do that and we can transport you with your hip replacement from Linz to Australia, then why can't we do the rest? This is the development technology. This is now at the moment, very Keshe Foundation scientists working, bringing these things out. You can imagine if the Germans and the Americans and the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese scientists get together on the race to space, the true space technology, you can say goodbye to all the trucks. People will leave it on the side road. But the question comes, what are we going to do with the society? How are we going to beat them? How are we going to do it? And in fact, how are we going to bring a technology which is acceptable? We see now a picture of the Keshe Foundation Enhancement, what we call exhibition center in Linz, the flag of 3 nations next to each other: Austria, Iran, and Keshe Foundation. Then this is the beauty of it. We become one nation, and we stand amongst the nations. And we have to be able to deliver this technology free to everyone. We don't stand as a scientific institution. Our flag stands as one nation institute. And that's how we see the technology is free. If we were Americans, we would have hired such a technology 200 meters underground, Secret Service officers and intelligence people can go in. It's open. From outside, you can see it. From inside, you can learn it. I have made one nation out of human race when it comes to science and technology, and then the rest will follow. Any other question?
Very good. From Stefania, a question from Frederica. Oh, sorry, from Lucio, I believe, somewhere in the Italian community. What are the 2 lamps for, and why do they turn on and off every now and then? Thank you. How did you create the beat?
I think go back from the beginning and learn a little bit about electrical. You understand, we don't create a beat, it's the battery charging itself. And the lamps show that we can produce energy. Any other question?
From Daniela in the chat here, can you promise that your wonderful technology will not fall into the wrong hands?
It is already in the wrong hand, it's in my hand. And I'm giving it to everybody, so sorry about that.
Yes, and the knowledge seekers are kind of iffy that way.
The worst lot to keep a secret.
Yeah. But I think it has a certain protection over it, this technology, in a way. It's sort of if you have bad intentions, it doesn't work out well for you when you try to engage in this technology, it seems.
No, unfortunately.
It's not good for working bad spells on people and things. It tends to make them well instead of sick and things like that.
Yeah, it's like you order water, doesn't it? You can do jinx with it.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, Mr. Keshe, it's Dean here again. So can I ask a question to Rick? So Rick, how do you feel in this moment that this is being released, and with all your hard work you put in over many moments, how do you feel about this and what's happening right now, Rick?
Well, it's in many ways, it's the manifestation of the dream of the last dozen years or so of engaging with the Keshe Foundation and Mr. Keshe, and I mean, this has been the promise, and we're starting, we're seeing the glimmerings. This is just the beginning, of course, and the glimmerings of the manifestation of what it might look like. And of course, the picture of what that looks like will change. It could change daily over the next months, but it's encouraging to see the comparison, the manifestation, we see the light continuing, basically, and that's nice to see. It's self-sustaining light. All right, well, that's a movement forward in my estimation. And of course, I've had this thing with the diesel exhaust and the whole diesel oil thing. I'm highly allergic to oil, as being a mechanic for many years, and to the fumes and exhaust of all the internal combustion engines and so on. For me to see that phasing out would be wonderful, but at the same time, perhaps there's other alternatives, like creating fuels the way Mr. Keshe is talking about, that might end up not polluting when they're burned. It might actually create a beneficial environment, and that could aid in the transition, because we will need a transition period. The whole planet is running on petrochemical fuels right now, and we can't just suddenly pull the plug on that. But on the other hand, it does look like we're seeing what could be a much quicker end than what we expected. I was surprised to see some of the information that I ran into in the last day, and it actually shocked me enough that I am now more in favor of the creation of fuels idea rather than moving directly to the plasma technology if we have to. But I can see that we're very close to moving directly to the plasma. So in that case, as Mr. Keshe has hinted and said directly, why would we want to prolong the transition when, perhaps it's an opportunity actually to move directly to a more plasmatic environment, and we'll be happier with that once we make the transition.
Thank you, Rick. Wonderful explanation. And I think what you've just said there is very important, that this transition period for the whole of the planet and for humanity does take some moments, because there are many situations where people, I'm talking about from a single individual up to governments and further, who have become very matter state, very that there's a need here right in these moments. So this transition period is a wonderful time for it to manifest gradually, and then also give us the ability to then move into the next aspect of these technologies. So thank you for that, Rick. I'm going to hand back to Mr. Keshe now. Over to you.
If there are no other questions, we can call it a day and come back another day. But we will have a third, what we call plasma energy blueprint, and we can go much deeper with it and understand how the system works and how we can apply the system. If there are no other questions.
Stefania had a hand up here, but I'm not sure if the questions, you already answered the one question about the lamps going on and off, and perhaps she has
The
something
lamp
else.
going on off is inverter. It's not to do with it's converting energy from DC to AC. And that's
Right.
why.
So they can review.
Nothing to do with the plasma technology. Is when the battery goes low, then the system stops and the plasma charges and it goes back up. This does not exist when it comes to this, what do you call it, the commercial units.
Good afternoon, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for answer, Lucio. Thank you for what you brought today. It was actually a question from Federica. She wants to make a question for you. Is it okay or is it too late? Or...
No, what's the question?
Ok. Federica, qual è la tua domanda?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Sorry for my English, but my question is the current situation that the Italians have, that is probably a resignation of the government. Are they positive thing or not? And what can we do to help in this transition period? Thanks.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Può ripetere questa domanda ancora?
The current situation that we Italians have, the probable resignation of the government, Draghi, and that, are they a positive thing or not for this situation? And what can we do to help in this transition period? Sorry.
Mr. Keshe, she was referring to the fact that the Italian president's gonna change, so she asked me if it's a positive, negative things, and what we can do in this transition time to help.
Nothing to do. We don't get involved in politics. At the moment in Italy, you're in crisis. Your prime minister has handed his resignation. You're expecting election in September, October. And the whole thing is in a mess. It's going to get worse. We know the new version of Corona is appearing. What would bring again on top of the European nations. And we know that now you have a problem with the fuel shortages and everything else. Italy is very vulnerable. And this is how your people decide with your nation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. Mr. Keshe, I got one more question, but I don't know if you're okay with it.
Le tue lampade che si accendono ogni tanto e si spengono, a cosa servono?
Can I make the question, translate the question, Mr. Keshe?
Translate, yeah.
He said, it's Lucio, I think he didn't hear it before. He said, these two lamps, they turn on and off. What their function? What is their function?
We've already answered that twice already.
Yeah, this is what I thought. I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Okay, you already answered that, Stefania, twice, so you review the video.
Shall we call it a day?
Sure, Mr. Keshe.
Just wait. We have a question from internal committee, I call it.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So one last question would be, Mr. Keshe, if you were addressing one person in this very moment who is about to receive this gift, how would you explain it to this one person, and how would you feel yourself after releasing this, after all these moments? And you're now at the position where you can release it to this one individual to give them the benefit of this technology that you've developed over so long.
It's a gift. How you use it depends on you. It creates energy, it creates food, it creates water, and that's what the man needs. So it depends what we take from it and how we want to use it and how we develop it. I gave the knowledge to the Iranian government exactly 14 years ago, July, August, when we built the first reactors in Sharif Tehran University. And the agreement I signed with Ahmadinejad was that this technology cannot be used to military purposes. It can be used for defending the nation, but not cannot be used as aggression. And they kept to word, but they expanded it and they extended it. They use it in different applications. They understood the principle. It's not actually giving a system. Once you understand the principle, and now we see a lot of applications from it. But to me, is when you give a gift like this to a person, it depends on the intelligence of the man, how he uses it, what he does with it. Yeah. You can make water out of it and feed a thirsty man. You can make water of it and use it to control a thirsty man. You understand? That's the difference. That's how we see the changes. Can you take a picture? And this is what we see. On next week, we show simultaneously the production of methane gas in Tehran and in Austria. And then we see what's the next step. What is the pressures on the, what we call gas producing nation? Because once we produce the gas in such a way, it brings it away the dependence on fuel. We already have a knowledge of converting our systems to work on a gas than what do you call it, diesel or petrol. So that's not a problem. We have put in the new technology with electric currents. So that solves the problem. And then we got to see how the governments use it. To me, the governments like Germany, if they don't want to go to what I call massive industrial revolution, and the problems which they have now is to teach it openly on the national media. Don't look that you're going to lose income. Look that you're not going to be in power to have an income. And when a nation becomes weak, it becomes preyed on upon other conditions. Yeah, and we cannot afford to have a country like Germany to become under control of the others. If the what do you call it? If the German leaders understand this, understand, that's the difference. And this is what we see. It's not if you give it to one, we give it to a nation, the leaders of a nation. What they're going to do with it? How they're going to abuse the nation from it? You understand? You look at the person, I look at it. We're giving this gift to the Germans. How would they do it? How would the French do it? How would the Italians use this to create the next step? The biggest problem was to show you can create energy from environment. Without burning fuel, we are depending on the sun comes, the sun goes, the water is there, the water is not there. This system can be used anytime, anywhere. At the moment is 0.3 watts, which is a normal house. You need it or whatever you do. Actually, you need it to put it in the back of your car when you can live in it all the time. You don't need to fuel it. And then the 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatts, and then through the other conditions, once we know it, we don't need any nuclear power stations. We don't need anything. It's a gift to a nation, to humanity. But let's see if this one man can understand it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Keshe.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. We'll meet you soon in the next few days. We announce it. where we'll show the production of methane gas and CO2 for both applications. And then we will go to the next step to see what the governments and the what we call nations will decide to do. We will see for sure the end of the Saudi Arabia as an oil state. That is 100% for sure. They have to find a new way to abuse children, as I call them. And we'll see for sure the countries like Iran will depend on oil and gas. They have to find a new dimension. The countries who have been stricken poverty to pay all the whatever they had to oil nations, for them just to be now changes. They become equal. We see emergence of new powers in Africa through the understanding of the new technology. And we see the end of a lot of abuses, as we've seen for years, has been going around. We could have sold this technology for billions and shelve it, but we give it to billions, and I hope they enjoy having it on the shelf to enjoy it. Thank you very much for today. We'll see you most probably next week. And we'll give you a very short notice. We try to bring next week back to Linz and Tehran to show you the methane gas and the CO2. And then our team in the background working on production of water, and the water to become food, then it completes our work. We expect it to be completed within the next, thank you very much, within the next couple of months. But we give you the food, the energy, the water, and the gas as an interim till we all learn how to use the energy of the plasma. Thank you very much, Rick. Well, thank you for all the work and the support. And as I said, it's beautiful. We haven't made it, but the plasma of the creator shines on the plasma which the man has made on the system.
Yes, exactly. I was going to mention that. That's a beautiful ending, that the sun absolute decided to shine on directly on the unit. Lovely.
Thank you very much, and see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. What a wonderful presentation today. All right. Let me get my screen back, and thank you everyone for being here today in the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. A day to remember, perhaps. Day to remember for sure. Okay, thanks everyone. And we have the next public teaching workshop, unless we have a workshop on Monday coming up with the third part 3 of the what we had today, basically. If we don't have that, then the next public teaching workshop will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace, which comes up on Tuesday, July 26th. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European time. Okay, I'll go out with one of our spaceship videos. That is the music version of the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit. And we'll see you all next time around. Bye for now.